Okay, everybody, so this is my spoiler review, quick thoughts and reaction to the premiere of the first episode of The Last of Us, the HBO version, which I was very, very excited about. I have played both games. I'm a huge fan of both games, and I'm actually in the unpopular party of actually liking the second game even better, which I thought was a masterpiece, and I think the first one is actually great, but I actually like the second one better, so just getting that out there. I know it's unpopular, but definitely play these games because they're great stories, really fun, and they're scary. And I was really excited about the show. More actually, though, from a TV side of it, that Craig Mazin is the showrunner with Neil Druckmann, who did the games, and they both wrote the pilot episode, and Craig Mazin directed it. But Craig Mazin is mostly known for his excellent work on Chernobyl, another HBO series. And what I love about Craig Mazin, he's one of those writers that just gets it. He knows how to write a really good script. And if you are someone who's passionate about that, I am in the school of Craig Mazin, meaning I listen to his podcast, Script Notes, which is great. Really, really good stuff about writing. So it's also more like exciting for me to see someone who I think is just a brilliant mind doing a video game I think is great. So getting all that out of the way, there's so much talk about this show with the casting decisions. Some are very popular, some aren't. And then you're kind of just waiting and trying to figure out how it's all going to come together. And for me, I had to just forget about all the noise and like also remove myself from the game in a sense too, where yes, the game is precious to me, but I also have to remember this is a TV show, it's a different project, kind of see where they're separating from that and just looking at it with a clean slate. How is it affecting me? Am I enjoying what they're doing? So first off, what I have to say is the standout just section of this episode for me was the first half, the opening in the past with Joel and his daughter Sarah, and setting up what makes this such a great character and the trauma he experienced. And it was so intense. I don't remember the last time I watched a show that had such a like tense sequence, and it might have been more tense because I played the game and knew it was going to happen. I don't know if anyone else was feeling that way. Let's say if you didn't play the game, if you're still feeling that tense of like something was about to happen, but knowing what was about to happen, I was on the edge of my seat, literally from the moment we met Sarah to the end, and knowing this impending doom coming. And I thought they did such a good job at it. I thought it was really just excellent performance by the actress of Sarah. That was really, really good. She just nailed it. And I love the shot in particular when she's looking at the DVD and behind her is the grandma starting to just be infected. So that was a really cool way to tease what was happening, and then it finally breaking at the end with the dog figuring out what's going on. And when you have the dog getting bad vibes, you know the shit is going down. I thought that whole sequence, especially the shots from the perspective of Sarah in the car, just like the game, amazing. And it was so intense. And I love Pedro Pascal's performance as Joel when he really got to amp it up and be yelling and stuff. He just nailed it really good, but he was also making his own too. He wasn't trying to do a Joel impression, which I really, really was happy about. That was definitely the best route to go, because anytime you cover a video game, you really, especially because video games still a performance, right? You still have characters who did the animation and the faces of their performance put in, so you don't want to imitate either. You have to separate and make it your own. So I think Joel, the actor Pedro Pascal, did a great job of that. And also, as a Pedro Pascal fan, it's just a really exciting thing to see him do a big project that's not The Mandalorian, because The Mandalorian, you don't really see his face. He's in a helmet. So it's nice to see him, and we can kind of see all his acting in full force here as Joel and see what he brings to the table. So really, to me, the best part, clearly, the episode was that whole opening sequence. I don't think you could have done it any better. Really, really well done. So then, once we got to present day and we got to 2023, where they're deciding to have the timeline take place, we meet Ellie, and it's played by Bella Ramsey. This was the most controversial casting in the sense of a lot of people think she looks so far off from Ellie that it's not justifiable as a casting. But I'm just taking it as like, let's see how it goes, because that's where you have to kind of. I don't know. There's no right answer to it. Like, I can understand the complaint if you're a video game person, you want it to look a little more accurate, like the character you remember. But I can also see it as with the TV show. It's a new show. They got to make it their own. Does she work best for the show? We don't know yet. We'll see. And she could be incredible. So far, so good. I was impressed by her acting. I think she really does get the feel of the character, the emotions, the vibes Ellie gives. It reminded me just of the video game character. So far, we saw very little of it, but a good chemistry with Pedro Pascal, and they have said that was a big part of them casting Bella Ramsey because of her chemistry with Pedro Pascal. And then we saw the character Marlene was actually played by the video game actress herself. So that was pretty cool to see. And that's got to be a first, right? If anyone can name another time where a video game adaptation actually just had the video game actor play the same character, I thought that was really cool to see that come to life. And that's got to be a surreal experience for her, just playing the same role again, but in a different medium. That's something I just got to think about. That's very cool. But I thought that the second half was not as strong as the first, but that's to be expected because now really the first half isn't even set up. It's intensity. And then the second half is more now starting really where the game story starts the main story. And that's like the show starting there, starting the main story, setting up pieces, meeting characters. And that's another shout out. What a great job by Anna Torv. You know her from a show. I'm forgetting them. Oh, Mindhunter. Mindhunter, the show that just disappeared that should have never left. She's playing Tess here and kills it as Tess. I mean, wow. Really, really brought her A game. So that was exciting to see. So it's good to see that every actor's just bringing their A game. You have a really good creative team in Neil Druckmann and Greg Mazin behind this together doing this. So it's in good hands. So like I said, the second half wasn't as engaging to me. And I did think, there's parts of the story that can get a little like, okay, they're looking for a battery. They got to get it moving to get to the part now where they got to get Elle to an important place. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil anything from ahead of the games, and please don't do that in the comments because this is also for people who have not played the game, so we're going to avoid video game spoilers. But it was a good place to end, and I still think it was a really, really solid premiere. And I like how they teased that monster, we'll say, in the wall, and that we didn't really see the full effect of horror, but it's coming. Like, we got a good tease of it and taste of horror in the beginning, but the full, upside to that horror where we can really go what we know from the video games and what we can eventually see. So I'm glad they didn't, do everything right away and saved some of their bigger cards for later and just teased it. So what I'm really excited to see is that same intensity and that gripping emotional feeling you had between Sarah and Joel eventually hit with Ellie and Joel and get those sequences together with Bella and Pedro and have that really intense horror. And I'm sure to think that is coming. Another thing I would say, a little nitpick, is that I did think the score was a little weak. It made sense in having that kind of slow guitar playing like the games, but I'm talking about the parts where it's not that. I'm talking about like just in the sequence when they're in the car and getting away from zombies. Some of the soundtrack was a little stale and flat, and I didn't expect that, especially from an HBO show. And I do still want it to have more of its own sound, and I feel like that wasn't there yet, or just something that makes you think of Last of Us. Not so much taken from the game with the slow guitar. I think you can have it in pieces, but I still want something from the show to have its own kind of tune or feel or vibe, and I didn't really get that here. It kind of felt like dropped in a little bit of Last of Us music, but then had a little bit of like the royalty selected tracks as the suspense music, so that was disappointing. But otherwise, solid. I'm going to give this opener an 8.8. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and please subscribe. Please give us a like if you can, because it's going to be super competitive covering the show. I did not get screeners for this, unfortunately, so that's why I got to watch it live and then just shoot my thoughts out here, do the best I can, but I hope you enjoy anyway. And please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more of me. And yes, please subscribe. I'm doing every single episode of The Last of Us. I'm also doing Your Honor right now, and I do interviews as well. And I'll see you next time.